What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Ryan Meyer's Expeditions. Today's video is absolutely unbelievable. I cannot wait to show you guys all the footage we got. This is the next day. We were freaking exhausted. We spent all night out there. The journey started at 10 o'clock at night before, all night long, fished, dived, lobstered, woke up next morning, onos, ukus, all day long. Guys, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then we will see you in the water. The mission started with a 10 p.m. departure from the ramp, and then a several-hour journey to our first spot. Me and Justin suited up around midnight, jumped in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and then proceeded to slay lobsters. The craziest part of the night was finding these weird striped lobsters, something I'd never seen before. If you guys know what these things are called, let me know down below. Once we had enough for everyone on the boat, we quit lobstering and fished menpachis till the sun came up.
Some menpachis for you, Ryan.
Menpachi! Oh, what happened? Only 3. So you got Jaylee. Jaylee's got the babies over there. How many you got?
I got 5.
Oh. 3. Yeah, it was a good try. It was a good try.
Look at that one!
That's a slop. Crushing them, guys. There's a couple, there's 4. Turn that GoPro on before you hit the water.
Yeah, they might be right here. Look at the bait right on us right now.
That's not bait, that's auto.
Watch, this could be auto.
I heard.
What are you waiting for then?
I'm waiting for over here.
He waited for you.
I know, Ian.
Alright, so there's bait right under us right now. 90 feet of water.
Okay.
So Asa trolled for about an hour at sunrise, and I was able to catch a teeny tiny amount of sleep. Now, not enough sleep to actually get rested, just enough sleep to be kind of rudely awoken and said, get your suit on, time to get in, there's no fish biting, and time to go shoot one. So from the time I hit the water, I think only 40 seconds went past until I took a shot at the first Ono. And it was just an unbelievable way to just kind of be half asleep, honestly, and jump in the water and just have this thing cruise straight in and do exactly what he's supposed to do. I threw my Opelu, he came over to check it out. I was able to do my nice little duck dive right here and then line up and take a shot on this fish. Just such a sick way to wake up, to have this thing just ripping out drag early in the morning. I really hate this shot right here. It's right there, right behind the pec fin, and the problem with this shot is if you're just a teeny tiny bit low or a little bit far back, you end up with a gut shot that ends up ripping off all too often. And when you're out here shooting floppers at Onos with reel guns, it's just kind of your job to be as careful as possible and take the most ethical shots that you can. Luckily, this one held, it wasn't far back, it wasn't too low, and I was able to land the first Ono of the day and start what is guaranteed to be one of the most unbelievable spearfishing days of my life. Now, I had just barely put this fish on the boat when Justin had another one come right into him. I think he was close enough for a shot. He didn't feel comfortable with it, so he didn't take the shot. And again, that's part of this ethical hunting for wahoo. You really just got to be careful and take shots that you really think you've got. Watch him here again. This is another Ono that came through. You can see his Opelu out there. See how light and calm that duck dive was, and then how calm he is down there on in the water, waiting for that shot. A few seconds later, I turned around just in time to see Justin's float go ripping past me, and then him on the fight for his first wahoo of the day. Just such an unbelievable way to start out the morning out here in freaking paradise. So sometimes while diving, you'll bump into like these massive schools of baitfish. And you can see that kind of anywhere in the world, and you're not necessarily going down to the bottom to hunt these schools of fish. Because a lot of times those predatory species will be hanging out just below them. So this dive was exactly that. I decided I wasn't going to go to the bottom. It was about 110 feet, but I wanted to get down below the school of baitfish and kind of see what lived there and what was around. So to do that, what I want to do is I want to maximize my time in that strike zone, which is just below those baitfish. So unlike a normal dive, I don't want to blow right through that zone. I want to get down there and I want to get horizontal, and I don't want to move, but I want to make myself as big as possible so that I'm not sinking that quickly, so that I hang out right in that zone as long as possible. And right here it worked perfectly. Those omilus were coming up to me, and then in that school of omilus was exactly one yellow spot papillo, which is one of my favorite eating sashimi fish in the world, and I was able to put a perfect stone shot in and land this fish. I really like to work the water column out here from kind of the top down. So what I mean by that is when I first jump in on a new spot, I'm looking for those pelagics first, if I know they're there. If I know there's a possibility of wahoo, mahis, anything like that up top, that's what I'm looking for. And then once I've kind of exhausted all those possibilities, once I've played around with the onos, with everything that I think is up top, it's time to start working my way down the water column. So that was that last dive you saw with that yellow spot papillo, where I wasn't quite going to the bottom, but I was going to go down and look below the school of baitfish now. Then this is one of those first dives I've done now that I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. So now I'm going down, I'm looking for those ukus, those moos, those aluas, just generally looking for the fish that are down there on the bottom. So I get there to the edge of the reef. You can see that big kind of corner of the reef. That's what I'm always looking for, any kind of change. I get down to the bottom, I do my grunts, and coming right over to me, I could not believe it, but a whole entire school of yellow spot papillos, something I've never seen before in my life. I always see these guys as solo kind of fish. So to see a whole school out here in the middle of nowhere was incredible, and managed to get another perfect stone shot on, again, a beautiful slab of sashimi. So one of Justin's goals for this particular trip was to get a big alua or giant trevally on his 3-prong. So that's what he was doing right here. He kind of found a crack and he's like, yo, there's a couple big aluas down here. Grab the camera, I'm gonna go get my 3-prong. Let's see if we can make it happen. So I followed him down. You can see he's way choked up on that 3-prong. He's probably got like a 7-foot cowabunga there, half and half aluminum, half graphite or something. But he needs a perfect stone shot on one of these monsters. This is not the type of situation where you can just get a holding shot. You can't shoot him in the gills. He's got to stone it. So he's going to be really, really careful to make sure that happens, or he's not going to take the shot at all. He does not want to wound one of these fish and have it get away. That's not what he's looking to do. So he's waiting for exactly that fish. He's creeping in there as slowly as he can. But unfortunately, I think what happened here was he had already been in this crack. He had already had those real easy, real curious aluas come straight up to him. And then that second go around, they just weren't quite as curious as they were the first time, and he didn't get the shot that he was looking for. Diving some of these places just makes me feel like I am in another country. Like I'm in Fiji somewhere, or in some crazy drop off that I should see a dogtooth tuna come by or anything at any moment. You can see these small mini GTs cruising around. Nice little kahala here will buzz me right over my head. Just fish all over the place on absolutely prehistoric looking structures. You can see me here aguado techniquing over there to look over the edge. I'm already at like 80-90 feet here, and I crawl over here and I look over the ledge into the abyss, and there's just absolutely nothing like these areas. And then right there, just a wall of aluas or small GTs just cruising right there up and down the wall hunting. So I actually followed that school of mini GTs right over to this crack that many of you may find familiar, and Justin got the alua he was looking for on the 3-prong, but you're gonna have to wait to see the rest of that in another video. So when given the choice of where to land, I'll almost always do the exact same thing, and that is some type of rocky, ledgy, corally edge and the sand. And I'm always trying to land on the deeper side of that ledge, because a lot of those ukus and moos will be coming from the deep side. They'll be coming from the sand. And what I'm doing is I'm hiding right there. They'll live out in the sand and they'll come in on the reef to feed and then they'll go back out into the sand. So I'm in that transition zone right there and I'm kind of setting up an ambush. And I'm down there and I'm doing my dusting and I'm doing my grunting and if there's a shadow like this right here, I'm hiding in that shadow. I'm concealing myself as much as I can. And then I'm just patiently waiting and looking out to my right. Generally, that is my preferred way. I can swing the gun a little bit better that direction. And that it works extremely well. You can see those omilus, a whole school of omilus charge me. Now those two ukus are coming in, hauling butt right to me to see what I am. I'm going to take that gun and super, super casually spin it. And you can see how slow I've moved that gun out towards them. I want to keep it down and entice them to come in to the last possible second when I take that shot. And then all I've got to do is keep that fish away from the reef, fighting him just enough to keep him off the bottom, but not tear that shaft out.
Other place is gonna have ocean.
Yeah.
So we moved spots, and immediately when I hit the water, threw my flasher, Ono came right in, and then I realized my gun was not loaded. Like, I dove down, I was ready, and Justin defaulted to me. He was like, you know, that's Ryan's fish, it's closer to him. And then I started frantically pointing, and I was like, no, dude, shoot that one. My gun's not loaded. So then in full panic mode, I got my load assist out. I can still see the Onos swimming around, managed to real quickly load, and there was actually two that came in. It looks like just one, but this is actually a different one that then Justin was able to line up on and get a perfect shot here right there in that tail region. So he's fighting that one, and I'm watching my throw flasher, my Opelu, fall back down to the bottom. Now I've got a loaded gun, and it's been kind of full panic mode, and then that Ono, the one that I had before, comes right in, and I rush it and I take this shot, which was a low percentage shot, something I'm always telling you guys not to take. That top-down angle is just, it's tough. It's really a tough shot to make. It's a really low percentage shot, but pay attention here to how quickly I reload. That Ono is still down there, following my Opelu down to the bottom, and it took me less than 45 seconds from the time that I did my dive to then doing another dive with another loaded gun. You can see how these movements are extremely practiced. They're perfect. There's no mistakes made. I've loaded this gun 1 billion times. And that's something super important for you guys to practice and work on. It's just the speed and the consistency of your reload. And that, again, is just something that comes with time. But that Opelu is drifting now down towards the bottom, and unfortunately an Uku actually came up and nailed it. Now, the Uku took my Opelu, and the Ono is still swimming around. So I had nothing to throw at the Ono, but I did a dive, and I did like the ridiculous grunting and waving at the Ono, completely full panic mode. Now, it did not work. But I come back to the surface, and only a few seconds later, I do another dive. And this is even worse than the first fail, guys. Because I get back down there, I've got no Opelus now, I've got no throw flashers, so all I do is sit here and frantically like wave my hand. Like, this is something that I make fun of people online all the time for doing. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's waving at the Ono, but I had nothing else, and I figured let's try it, and I could not believe it, but it attracted him over. Like, he came from really far away, all the way in, but with all that energy going on, I was not relaxed at all. He was already shot at once, kind of chased around a couple times. He's not hanging out. I rushed the shot right here. Again, I totally cooked this. How many times now? All in like 3 minutes. But he comes in, almost enough for a shot. I give those few kicks to close the gap, take a shot, clip him, and doesn't quite hold, and I lose this fish. Now, this would have been really sad if it wasn't so funny. But luckily, only a few minutes later, I was able to do another drop, see a couple Onos come in, learn from my mistakes that I had made prior, and I wasn't about to rush this one. With these Onos, a lot of times I try to have the mentality that if I'm not gonna get the shot I want, I try not to take it, and that was a perfect shot right there, guys. Right there between those back two fins, just killed his motor. You can see he didn't have much fight in him. He couldn't move much. He's got a big shaft that he's got to wave back and forth. Even if you don't break the spine like I did, you still put a lot of weight on his engine and he can't do much. So immediately now, I go into my fighting mode. I go super gently. I do not want to horse this fish in. And then I land him, landing my second Ono of the day, and I am just freaking pumped. So as I mentioned before, I try to work my way down the water column every time I get to a new spot. So this was that new spot. I had already looked at the onos, chased a couple, harassed a few, and then landed one. And now it was time to get down to the bottom and see what was down there. Those couple grunts really early in the dive brought in that omilu from nowhere. I know that this is an uku zone. For one, Asa just told me, he's like, there'll be ukus at the next spot, and I've dove this spot before, so I know how kind of uku-y this area is, and that's really what I'm looking for. So down here on the bottom, and then right here coming out of nowhere, super, super freaking cool to see these guys, but big giant alua just snuck right up on me. I love seeing these guys, and I pretended like I was gonna shoot him here, but I wasn't going to. It's just always really cool to see these apex predators out there cruising the reef. So we've kind of got the lay of the land now. I know that there's some big predators down here on the bottom, and that's what I'm looking for. So you'll see this next dive, I get down there, and I find that low spot in the reef. And that's something I'm always looking for. I always just want to be a little bit concealed by a shadow or by a rock or something else, and then it works perfectly. These two ukus come up out of nowhere. There's 3 ukus actually right there, just in schools out here prehistoric. I'm able to grunt him in over to me and then take the shot and just stick him right in the cheek, hold that drag on the reel, hold the reel so I keep him out of the reef, and then land my second uku of the day. So from there on, it was pretty much uku action for the rest of the day. I have never seen anything like this. It was super, super impressive. Pretty much each and every time I hit the bottom, we were swarmed by ukus. So again, right here, get down there, find that little bit of a low spot in the reef. There's a nice little place to hide, a nice little place to set up. Do my couple grunts there, do a few scratches there, trying to just relax down into the bottom and be nice and subtle. And this was the big one of the day, guys. An 18-pounder later, we would find out, came in right up above me, right up above my head. A shot that I really hate, but luckily held this time, and able to get him kind of low in the guts, but went up in and kind of came out that collar region, which is we'll kind of hold most of the time. And then my only job is to keep him up out of the rocks, which I do by applying pressure or drag, depending on if he's doing what I want him to do. And then as I'm fighting that fish to the surface, I see Justin do a duck dive and have his throw flasher out on a sweet ono. He didn't quite get close enough for a shot, but still, it was pretty sick to be fighting an uku while he was diving on an ono. When I landed this thing, I was beyond stoked to see my second biggest Hawaiian uku ever that would later come out at 18 pounds. So literally the very next dive, same situation. Nothing changes here, guys. I'm doing the same thing over and over and over because it works. You can see that little bit of a shadow there, that little low spot in the reef. I've got a nice place to plant that left hand. I get down to the bottom, I do some scratching, I do some grunting. Those aluas come right in. They don't care. They're super excited. They're super attracted by those grunts. And then I look up high, and there's those schooling ukus, which is what I'm really looking for down there. There's 3 or 4 in that school. They are obviously attracted by the grunts and the scratches. They come straight over into me. It's just so sick to be down here in a prehistoric area where you've got options, you know? I mean, how many different fish were all trophies in that same dive? And then with a nice holding shot, my only mission is to keep this guy out of the reef because I do not want to have to go back down there and extract him. This is 90 or 100 feet, and every time you have to do that just takes time away from the rest of your hunting. It was kind of crazy, guys, but it seemed like every single time I hit the bottom in this area, there was just life everywhere. I'm kind of looking at a school of moose on the other side of this rock. I'm still looking over the edge out to my right, looking for those ukus. And then right here, again, one of those massive aluas just sneaks up on me, comes up. It's almost like I'm afraid they're going to come in here and just kind of bite my head one time or something. But just super cool to see these monsters of the deep, these apex predators out here just casually swimming around, doing what they're supposed to do in a place that is still so special and so full of fish. And this was it, guys, the final dive of an unbelievable trip. Same thing as usual, get down to the bottom, see if I can find a little low spot. If not, find a place to plant that left hand so that I can secure on the bottom and I can move and adjust my position if needed. I get down there, I do my grunts to see if anything will come in from afar. And then right here, I start to pick out those couple ukus. I can see them kind of up, cruising around. I'm not sure which ones are going to come all the way into me, but I want to keep my options open and look around without spooking anything. You can see how slow those movements are. And sometimes, like this right here, you end up with a lot of fish right in your face. All those small opalacalas and small little fish that I don't even know what they are, but they're so close to you that you have to hunt them as well. You know, if you spook those, I promise you those ukus, that alua, that moo, that uhu, if that's what you're looking for down there, whatever it is that you're looking for is going to take off too. So those gun movements have to be even more fine when you're swarmed by fish like this. So keeping those gun movements nice and slow and trying to be as relaxed as possible and as enticing but non-threatening as I can to that uku out there, because I want him to come over and investigate me but not be afraid of what I am. So when he comes in, he presents a shot, I'm able to get another nice shot on him. He goes over the ledge here, and I've been extremely lucky so far on this day. It's deep, and I do not want to have to go back down there. What's crazy here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there's actually a couple GTs trying to smash this thing. Luckily though, they let me have this one last fish off their reef, and it was just an unbelievable way to end an epic adventure to a place that I just do not get to go very often and see the ocean the way it was kind of meant to be hundreds of years ago.
18. Phew. Should have weighed my uku. I got down south one. Ryan's a big uku yesterday.
That's got to be second biggest uku. Second biggest uku in Hawaii for sure. Stoked.
4 pounds. Bro, 4 exactly.
Nice. 3-prong alua, 28.
32. Oh, shucks. 27.
27.
You're right.
Nice. How big are they? What do you think?
Probably close to 30. Ryan's big ono from yesterday. See how I'm lifting it up because Ryan can't carry things. 32.
32. Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
27.
Do I get the ono of the day?
You did get the ono of the day, bro.
Sweet. First ono was the ono of the day.
Lift it up. 2 hands. Put 2 hands like this. Oh! Try again.
Come on. Oh, you got it.
Go. Lift it. Yeah!
A few more years, she's actually going to be chopping up your colas.
Hopefully.
Come on, dump them
We
here.
continue on, huh?
I need to cook it.
Yeah, and then we're gonna cook it?
Yes.
I could have left.